Good evening. Happy Tuesday to everyone. We are back here at American Scouser with our EPL Panel Show. I am your host, Mateus, as we are going to take a look at this last week of matches and look forward to next week. With me, we've got a pretty full crew this week, and I think we're expecting a fan that's been hiding underground for a while. But with me today, let's just say we've got Jamie, Shay, and Glenn. Jamie, let's start with you. How are you?
Doing well. 2 wins on the bounce. Can't complain.
2 wins on the bounce, 5 red cards on the bounce as well. Shay, how are you?
Doing better. Villa finally found the goal, so
it's finding the back of the net. It does a lot for a team, I'll tell you. And then we also have a fan who saw a couple goals go in. Glenn, you doing okay this evening?
Yeah, should have been much more than a couple. I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But that was probably the worst 90 minutes for an opposition team I've seen since we joined the Premier League. I think it was woeful from West Ham, so I'm looking forward to talking about that.
Yeah, I think you start to see what happens when you throw in a bunch of managers over the course of several months and the players all look so disjointed. But speaking of another disjointed club, not Liverpool yet, we're going to talk about Forest. And Jamie, we'll start with you. Obviously, I think the scoreline really flatters Chelsea, but that first half, a couple of chances go a different way. Ange probably still has a job, and we may be talking about maybe 1 point for Chelsea escaping. But at the second half, especially, I mean, it was just there was nothing left for Forest to do. I guess your thoughts on the match there?
You got to feel sorry for Ange, really. It looked like it. Or Glenn actually said last week, I think, in your Tonali picks that it could well be a Chelsea-shaped banana skin. And our defense and midfield tried very, very hard to make it that way in early proceedings. I think if Forest's midfield and attack could hit a barn door from 2 yards, he'd still be in a job. They missed probably 3 very clear chances, and Jesus at one point hit bar post. Don't know how that didn't go in. But second half, Maresca made changes, so we brought in Caicedo. And Guiu played incredibly well in the 45 minutes we came on. He was just a nuisance and was getting himself about. We scored 2 in 5 minutes. And then Reece James put away the game when he finally figured out what he was going to do with this piece of paper he'd been handed by Esteval. He was awkwardly walking around with it in his hand, didn't want to drop it on the floor. Everyone was willing him to put it in his sock, but he didn't for some reason. You could see what was going on in his head, and 10 seconds later, he put away the winner. So, well done, Reece James, to kind of deal with what you got in front of you, and then you can get 3 points. But yeah, we were completely flattered, especially on first half performance. But when you don't have Caicedo starting, you don't have Palmer anywhere near the team, and you have injuries and suspensions throughout the side in the Premier League, 3 points and a clean sheet is never anything to scoff at. Another red card, more ill discipline. They're all different, but I mean, when it's a trend, it's a trend. No one's had 5 red cards in a row, but we have.
We'll never sing that. I think the big thing in a league like this is you get the results how you can, right? And then you go back and you dissect and see what you could have done better, and then you use that for the next week to then plan what you need to plan and go from there. So I think, I personally speaking, I don't know what a clean sheet is anymore. It's been what's felt like years. So kudos to you guys. Overall, I think, that second half, especially once Caicedo came on the pitch, showed why Chelsea paid every bit of that transfer fee for him. He's easily proving to be one of the best midfielders in the league. It's one of those on an opposition side, it's a frustrating thing to see everything come together, because it was a nice thing to watch for a couple of years when there were a lot of pieces being brought in and those pieces not working. But now that they're starting to really fall together without Cole Palmer, mind you, this Chelsea side, it could be a pretty dangerous side once every piece is there and really clicking like they want to.
Yeah, and good to see Achimpong get on the score sheet as well. He's been at the club since a junior and got his first senior goal. He's had a couple of solid performances filling in, so hats off to him.
Yeah, perfect. And then and hats off to the guy who's got his hat on, Shay. Villa sneaking 2-1 over Spurs. Like we mentioned in the intro, finally finding a way to put the ball back in the back of the net. What are your big takeaways from this past weekend?
I mean, honestly, it was doom and gloom right at the beginning of the match because they scored first 5 minutes. I was like, here we go. Typical Villa of just starting out lackadaisical. And then we had 2 absolute unreal goals scored, which that's all it takes in the league for any team. So it was nice to see. The second goal was one of the best team goals I've seen in a while. So I'm glad that they actually had it. And it's just good to see them finally getting back to that form. It was a little rough right at the beginning. Like I said, just injuries. And I mean, I know we said at the very beginning and even like towards the end, like we just didn't spend any money. So it just looks like the team was heavy legs and they're finally starting to find that form. And I think Emi Buendia is having a resurgence and then kind of showing that price that we paid like 4 something years ago finally. So it's good to see. It is disappointing. Just the only thing just got to see, Harvey Elliott and Sancho come on. But, Emery is going to stick to his guns and he'll play the same players if he needs to.
How do you feel about Unai Emery overall? Because I haven't really gotten a chance to talk to you or see in the show your feelings. I know that especially before the last couple of weeks, there was maybe not a lot of chatter, but there was enough chatter to talk about maybe something needing to be changed at that level. Are you an Unai believer? Are you kind of in the middle right now? Where would you sit?
No, I definitely think he's, by far the best manager I've seen. Obviously, just the last 2 years playing in Europe and being consistent. I think he's just kind of, hands are tied behind the back, similar to what Arsenal, but, Arsenal had the money to spend. They just refused to do it. We're, on the other hand, like, we have the money and the backing, but the league and the FA are just kind of putting a stop to it. And I get it. You can't spend above your means. But there comes a point where how do we get better without spending? Because in today's day and age, people want to see certain players play for the club. And then if you can't do anything because you're constantly getting roadblocked, it's tough. So I think he has tried to bring in the players that he's wanted. And then I was just telling one of my friends, the other day, like a lot of these players that have played were from Dean Smith still and Steven Gerrard. Like, maybe 3 or 4 players have only come in that Emery's actually wanted. A lot of them have probably been youth kids that, try to do what Chelsea are doing, Liverpool. You buy these kids at a younger age and just try to ship them off, sell them, and just bring in some more money. But a lot of the senior players are from 2 previous managers, and he's done wonders with them because he's obviously got them playing way above what they were supposed to be playing at. Hopefully January, we can bring in some of the players that he wants to his style. Like, we're always going to be linked with some players in Spain. The issue is how much money can we spend to do it? And then the wages is the biggest issue. I know we had that problem with Martinez wanting out because he wasn't paid. I was like, you're getting paid $175,000. $200 at United isn't that much, and you're going to go to that disaster at that time. Was it really worth it? But he's kind of put that aside, and I think Emery's got the team playing again, and then the locker room's kind of back. So it's good to see.
He's got that stamp of approval. If you want any hints or any tips from specific fans of clubs who don't have to buy big but are still competitive and playing well, Glenn, Brentford, selling away their biggest players, having their manager leave, having essentially, no offense, a no-name person come in and take care of the club, and all of it's still going well, maybe better than you would have expected, and especially this after West Ham. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. It was such a good win. We weathered the storm for like 5 minutes. West Ham showed up for the opening 5 minutes. They were all over us. They started really positively. Bowen's on fire. Paqueta's making the ball move. We were just overwhelmed. And I was waiting for the goal. And it was the strangest thing after that initial onslaught. We're on the back foot. As soon as we got our foot on the ball and we broke up that initial wave of attacks, which looked certain to be a West Ham goal, they didn't offer anything else except for a brief moment at the end of the first half for the rest of the 90 minutes. And it's one of those performances, right? Was it how good we were? Was it how bad they were? It was probably a mixture. The stats for the game make incredible reading. We had away from home. Keep in mind, this is away from home. We had 17 shots to their 7. We had 6 shots on target. Boss possession, over 130 passes more than them. and a stack more corners as well. Like, we absolutely bossed the game. And the only disappointment for me was that it took to the 95th minute to get the second goal. Because regardless how bad any team plays, if there's one goal in it and you're in added time, that is anyone's game. It's always anyone's game. And we've been that team many, many times, getting a late goal that we didn't deserve. That's the way it is. So, yeah, I mean, West Ham 2-0 flatters them. I think 4 or 5-0 would have been more appropriate for the gulf in quality and enthusiasm from the teams. We played 4-3-3, right? It's something I'm harping on about every single episode I'm on. It's like 5 at the back does not work very well for us. 4-3-3 or a kind of 4-2-3-1, whichever way you look at it, with Damsgaard in the hole, that front four of Kevin Schade, Atara, so the pace of those two wingers is electric. Damsgaard, who I would argue is one of the best creative midfielders in the league. I wouldn't swap him for many other players in the league. Obviously, your Cole Palmers, your Phil Foden's in form, but I wouldn't take many other players over Damsgaard in the Premier League for his position, not at all. And then Thiago up front is becoming something of a revelation. I mean, he missed a real sitter as a flick on, and he should have buried it, and that was really irritating. And his goal he got fortuitous because the goalkeeper gets his hand to it and it still rolls in. But, I mean, that guy's XG for the game must have been high. Like, he was strong. He was bullying defenders. I mean, the fact they paid 40 million for Kilman is it's just pitiful, isn't it, really? I mean, their recruitment in the summer was just diabolical. And yeah, as you said, right, they've changed managers. I think Nuno's going to find he is working with a severely less balanced and a squad of far lesser quality than Forest. He's not just going to walk into West Ham and apply the same tactics and play good football. What stunned me was West Ham could not defend a cross. If there's one thing that I think embodies a Nuno team, it's tall centre-backs who head the ball away. Right, Milinkovic, Murillo, best centre-back pairing arguably in the league last year. Right, maybe add in Saliba and Gabriel to that. Best back two in the league. You know, they were a mess. His formation was strange. He was playing wing-backs on the wrong side. He benched Doof, who has been there by far the only shining light of their season. He has been dynamite as a wing-back. I've been jealous of him. But then you look at, so bizarre formation, bizarre tactics from Nuno. Did not work. Was the stalest atmosphere. I mean, West Ham fans had a protest, right? It wasn't full. There was a planned walkout or no show. And for a manager, if that's your first home game, I mean, that is really building an atmosphere that is, it's not hostile, but it's flat. It's completely airless. And, you know, I watched Bristol City as my dad's team. I watched them play at Carrow Road on TV on Saturday against Norwich. Very similar at Norwich, right? They haven't won a home game all season. The atmosphere was totally flat. I watched 2 of my teams in a row this week, and like the away team were just allowed to boss it. They really, really were. And you fear for West Ham. I mean, as I said, that was the most gutless, spineless performance from a Premier League team I've sat through. And like, we've beaten, I think, Leicester 5-0 last season. I think we've battered Southampton. We've beaten Leeds and Ipswich heavily over the years. But my God, at least they fought some of them.
United 4-0 as well.
United, we've turned over a few times. Like, we've had some great results, and I haven't come away from a game feeling despair for the opposition. Some of them, right, Southampton, Leicester, writings on the wall. All right, you're going down, is what it is. Like, they're just not the quality there. But for West Ham to be an established Premier League team with quality like Paqueta and Bowen, who I think any team in the Premier League would probably take both of those. I mean, they're world-class players on their day.
Other than that, if you look at their squad, though, man for man, you would not take any of them. Like,
I agree.
Zero.
I agree. It's rough. It's rough. I mean, yeah, keeper was poor. Sunak. I mean, that back four is awful. That is an awful back four. Somerville obviously has quality, but he's not really being able to show it. Like, yeah, I've not watched 90 minutes of football, and genuinely, once I wish we'd got the second goal earlier so I could relax. I was on the edge of my seat for the whole game, but I really felt deeply, deeply sorry for the West Ham fans. I mean, they've just suffered this season. And yeah, Nuno's come in and he's made some strange decisions and he hasn't motivated them whatsoever. But yeah, Thiago's come in. He was injured all season. He's now bagged 5 goals in the Premier League. That's no mean feat a couple of weeks in. He's powerful. And honestly, that front four, yes, I'd prefer Visser. Yes, I'd prefer Mbeumo. Don't get me wrong. Brilliant players, obviously. But that is not a bad front four for the Premier League. And we've spent good money on it. That's a midfield that costs probably 120 million, right? Which is crazy for me to say as a Brentford fan. But it's also a front four that's going to be worth upwards of 200 million in the next summer transfer window, right? Clubs want Sharda. Clubs may want Atara. Clubs definitely want Damsgaard. So, yeah, it was great. And honestly, for the Liverpool connection, Jordan Henderson, wow. What a player. What a signing. Game after game after game, he offers such a level of class that I understand why Tuchel wants him in the England setup. I appreciate everything the England fans are saying, that he's too old, look to the future, you got Wharton. I get it, and I agree with it to some extent. But when Jordan Henderson puts in performance after performance after performance for us in the Premier League, he's going to be in the England squad on merit. Not because he's the elder statesman, not because he's experienced, because he's one of the best holding midfielders in the league. He's got mad quality. And the fact he can pick a pass, and he knows if he plays a high ball that Atara and Sharda are running the channels. This is a team that he's fitted into so smooth. He's just fitted in beautifully. So Yarmouk, nobody knows who he is except unless you're a Brentford fan. One of the most consistent 90-minute players in the division this year. Right? Brilliant player. So, and one more thing. Coyote created 6 big chances from right back. Our record in the Premier League, I think it was the most for an Italian player in the Premier League since the 90s. That's unbelievable, isn't it? That's what Doof was doing for West Ham all season. And for some reason, he's on the bench. Make it make sense. But West Ham awful, Brentford dynamic, Nuno, a lot of head scratching with his approach. It did not make sense.
So I'm just looking at the table. All 3 teams that Nuno's been at are in the relegation zone right now. It's kind of funny.
Who's a better signing out of Henderson and Xhaka this season?
Oh, that's a great question.
I think the thing for me, especially with Henderson, and I think this has been a conversation amongst Liverpool supporters, especially in our Discord, is that there seems to be a lack of just a level of standard that you're expected to show up to train, to play. And I think that's what Henderson and Xhaka, those guys, bring to clubs like Sunderland, like Brentford. It's a level, it's a standard that you will not accept anything below this. You may not be as good and you may not be as skilled, but if you are as well-trained, if you are as mentally prepared, if you are willing to put in the 100% you need to put in, that standard there, it's hard to find many players like that, especially at their age, to be able to continue to do that. And Ian, we do appreciate you hopping into the chat here. This is more of a panel show. If you want to talk about specifically Liverpool and what the hell they should do, I don't know what is ever going to happen, but B, just tune in tomorrow morning, Wednesday, 9 a.m. Central, or Friday, 9 a.m. Central as well. Thursdays at 8 Eastern, 7 Central. We'll try and make whatever we can of this mess. So I guess while on the topic of mess and someone coming back from the depths, it's Ayo. Welcome.
Where is Turkish Stallion?
Yeah. Well, where have you been? Where have you been? That's our question.
He's been hiding for almost 2 years. I haven't seen him.
I was here earlier in the season. I remember. I think I was here first couple of weeks. I think
you were.
Until they started losing.
You said what?
Until they started losing.
Yeah, then I decided to disappear. No, my evenings, I have a toddler, so my evenings are always very, very rough.
Chaotic, very busy. Yeah. Well, you didn't have a rough morning on Sunday. Talk to us about your feelings on the match overall as a United fan. Where are you right now?
Feeling of the match, it was a great win. I think we played very well. I think as much as everybody knows my thoughts on Amorim, I think he set the team up very well. Regarding the tactics on how to hurt Liverpool, specifically things like playing Cunha in the false 9 and the Burmo and all those runs they were making in behind. I think he did very well with that. I think he did also well not to get sucked in trying to play out of the back and get caught up in Liverpool's press because we're not that great at it. Where I'm feeling out, so it was a great win. We take whatever win that happens against Liverpool. I know some of their fans. Are you a Liverpool fan, by the way? Are you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I need somebody to hold this smoke. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm here holding it.
Okay, you're holding. Okay. I know a couple of people were complaining about the first goal. I guess because of the collision to McAllister, I think it was. But I mean, I think it's one of those things where I don't know if there's any rules or law when you get hit by your own player. So I don't see how the ref would have stopped that as long as he wasn't in danger. Great win. I was ecstatic, especially because when Gakpo scored the equalizer, I was like, okay, here we go again. Here comes the cavalry. I was really worried when he scored, but to reply like that in like 3 minutes, I was like, okay, this is different. And on the balance of things, it probably should have ended in a draw. Maybe Liverpool could have nicked it. Because, I mean, there's a lot of XG that they have created, but that was, from a losing stage, right? They needed to attack, so they just threw everything at it. But on the balance of chances, maybe it should have ended the draw because that Gakpo head, that was like a sitter that he missed. So how I feel as United fan as a whole, we had a draw last season at Anfield, right? And we could have won last minute. Maguire, same person, like missing a chance. So it doesn't tell me much. However, I would say I was kind of impressed with the fact that Amorim recognized that this was a game where he went horses for courses and like benched Benjamin Sesko and realized how he could take advantage of the weaknesses in Liverpool's midfield without actually like going through the midfield. So Brighton would tell me a lot more now how I should feel because this is his first back-to-back win under Amorim, so it might be another false dawn. Who knows? But it was fantastic to beat Liverpool at Anfield, after 9 years. So yeah.
Yeah, it has to be one of the most disappointing days as a Liverpool fan, not only just from the result, but purely off the back of 3 losses before that. And watching this team set up the same way every week and not seeing any changes, I think is the most disappointing thing. Is because when you lose 1, when you lose 2, when you lose 3, and you go into international break and you come back and you think this is the chance to right it. This is the chance. You've had 10 plus days off to set up a way that's going to make you most successful. And then you go out with the same lineup, you do the same thing, you concede within 65 seconds, and everything just falls on its head. And I think that is the most deflating thing for me as a Liverpool fan, is that it's not necessarily the result, it's just almost the lack of an unwillingness to change and unwillingness to try something different. And yeah, the first goal, no complaints here. My only complaint is Van Dijk not closing in on Mbeumo. He needs to do more than let him have that shot there. Because Van Dijk clears McAllister himself. So it's not like, again, like you were saying, it's not like it was a United player who was taking him out. It was his own teammate. So unfortunately, it is what it is. It's a long season. I think the conversations that we are having as Liverpool fans across different forums are a lot different now than we expected them to be 5 weeks ago. But that's just what happens during the course of a year. I think, the same thing with some of you guys. There's going to be different conversations that we have throughout the year based on how things go. And so, popping back a bit, any thoughts, Jamie, on any other matches this past week? Anything you want? I know that we talked about Bournemouth and Palace being a great game to watch. And for the last 25, 30 minutes, that ended up being quite true. Anything else that you wanted to touch on before we move into taking a look at this next weekend?
I mean, a couple of games really. Arsenal win ugly. Like, they've not necessarily been known to do that. So is that them changing, or is it them playing like they did the last 2 years and now Liverpool aren't there to kind of lead the league? Arsenal now look better compared to everyone else versus Liverpool on form. But really, Brighton Newcastle, that's always going to be probably a kind of lower European places clash, and Newcastle have been on form, new strikers putting them in, so for Brighton to nick a result at home, but I think that's really, really good going. We'll see. I've been very impressed with Newcastle, and I'm also very happy that Chelsea didn't sign Xavi Simons. He's almost as ineffective as Florian Wirtz.
That's well deserved. Shay, let's go over to you. Let's actually real quick, Glenn. Remind me, your Tonali pick last week was.
Jamie said, I think it was for Forest to surprise us, which they could have done, right, Jamie? That was they could have. It failed. It was, they were turned over, but there was moments. I stand by the opportunity because they couldn't finish. So what can you do? That's it for Ange.
Yeah, that's it for Ange. He didn't even get to the locker room. I think he got to the tunnel before.
17 minutes.
I think it was right at the
17
tunnel.
minutes.
The TV direction was great, wasn't it? When they had Marinakis in his like business class seat, and then he wasn't there, and they were kind of shooting over at Maresca celebrating. That was cinema.
It was quite great. So let's take a look to next weekend. Shay, I'm going to pop this onto the screen here. That's the wrong tab. It's this one instead. Is that what we're looking at? So Villa is playing at home against Man City. Early kickoff on Sunday here in the States, at least. It's going to be probably the toughest test of the season so far.
Oh, definitely, just because Holland is on form and the way that we have played. Yes, we're on a 5-game, winning streak per se, but it's just, you're going up a team that's look like they're hitting their stride. They're looking like the old City that they used to. I think everybody's healthy for the most part for them. But this will be a good test because Ezra Konsa has been playing really well. And I think Pau Torres is finally also fully healthy and playing better. I think they will give Holland a little bit of trouble, but they just have a lot of quality. And like I said earlier in the show, just tired legs for the Villa team. They have been playing way better than they have. You can tell when a team has new blood, new legs, it makes a difference. Like I said, I know for right now, for like Liverpool, it's a lot of new faces, but they made the change. It's going to take time for y'all to gel. If they squeak it out, it'll be a 1-0, just absolute, probably classic Emery of he scores and it's just going to be take it as much as you can and hopefully not concede on a counterattack goal.
Do you expect a lot of rotation for Thursday or no?
I don't.
Or do you...
even tomorrow, I guarantee you'll probably play the same team. I mean, I think Ollie got hurt during the England qualifiers, but they never disclosed what the injury truly was. I know that he hit a shin on the goalpost, but I mean, it could have just been a little bruise or something like that. I don't even know I don't remember if he came on Sunday or not. But that's a little bit worrisome because over the last couple of years, I've been said on the show, like we've had Ollie as our main striker for almost 3 years straight now. Like we had Duran, he was bringing something different, but Ollie's always been the main person. And I think now with Mullen being there, he's finally getting into his own. But he will probably play almost the same team. I would like to see Harvey Elliott play, but I don't know if Unai is the biggest fan of him. And that was kind of like, hey, we needed to sign somebody. And y'all were like, we also need to make some space because I think if he plays 9 matches, we have to sign him. And I don't know if Emery wants to do that or not, but it's not fair to Harvey Elliott because I think he is a good player. I think he just got in a bad situation. But I would like to see a little bit of change. Just play, some pace, maybe play Headley and Sancho and just give some of these guys a break because I'd rather focus on City and try to get a point out of that because I think that'll be massive for us in the long run. And obviously for the top of the table, it could be something that could be beneficial. If they drop these points against Villa, it could be up to Arsenal. And if you guys decide to finally kick it into gear, that will come into play later in the season.
We'll find out. The irony is that in some Liverpool camps here, we need someone like Harvey Elliott to have a left foot on that right wing side to maybe give some minutes to someone not named Mo based only on what he's achieved and not what he's achieving currently. Ayo, over to you. Looks like United is at home against Brighton. The big question is, does Amorim go 3 for 3 and does that one guy get closer to cutting his hair or not?
United Strand.
Yeah.
3 for 3. Honestly, he doesn't have a better chance. I think this is a great chance for him to try to do that. I'm very worried about Brighton. Brighton has beaten us, 3 seasons in a row now at Old Trafford, if I remember correctly. Brighton, Bournemouth have our number a lot. So I'm also worried about Brighton because of set pieces. Now, it looks like Senna Lamens, our new goalkeeper, looks very composed, and that's helped a lot regarding crosses. But I also think I still notice some issues with different set pieces, and Brighton has just been a boogie team for us. So I would say I hope it's a 2-1 win. I can probably see that if I squint a little bit, a 2-1 win. But I worry about the game. I really, really worry about this game. This feels like one of those games where, Brighton just comes, scores like a set piece, header or cross, and hit us on the break, and then we struggle all game. Yeah, so I really worry about the game, but I'm hoping for a 2-1 win. That's all I can say. I'm not confident. I'm not.
United has only won since May of 2022. They've only beaten Brighton once in the Premier League.
Correct.
So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losses going back to February of 2022. So definitely hitting the nail on the head with being the bogey team there.
Yeah.
So that'll be an interesting one to watch. I think part of maybe some of our Tonali's picks might be focused around that. I think my Tonali pick is going to be just based off pettiness alone to make sure that that we don't see some good result happen again. But Jamie, let's go over to you and Chelsea. Whoa, sorry, missed it here. Chelsea at home against Sunderland, going back to Stamford Bridge. Where are you at this weekend? How confident are you? And can they avoid a 6th red card in a row?
Interesting to see. That's probably the most concerned I am. I don't think we're going to avoid a 6th red card. We're coming off a short week, playing Ajax tomorrow at home in the Champions League, then over to Sunderland. You would have assumed at the beginning of the season that Sunderland was going to be a complete walk in the park, but Sunderland they've been really solid start to the season. So it's like this could be the banana skin if Chelsea is complacent. It's going to be interesting. Mark Guiu is likely going to play, and if he doesn't play against Ajax, he's going to play here. And I think he'll actually score. I could see us knocking a couple past them. We need to be defensively solid because they've been a well-organized outfit, especially with Xhaka being that kind of on-field general. So I don't think it's going to be easy, but I do think we're going to get 3 points and 3rd win on the bounce and really kind of elevate ourselves back into the upper echelons, ready for Palmer's return.
Now it's I'm trying to remember what I think it was yesterday read that he won't be back until late November. Is that now the consensus?
I mean, based on how the date keeps changing, who knows, honestly. I do think Hato jumping on him when we beat Liverpool probably did not help because you saw him kind of grimace after that. But it's actually a good thing. If we're going to get results, it's a good thing learning to play without him because we very much we're Cole Palmer FC. It's just give it to Cole Palmer and hope he does something good. And if he doesn't, we lose. So kind of we're learning to kind of play and establish roles elsewhere in the team. If we're going to have a chance at finishing in the top 3 or 4, I think he will need to come back, especially if we're competing on multiple fronts. But it's great to have everyone get a run out, and I'm enjoying seeing players like Esteval get more game time as a result too.
Yeah, I mean, while injuries are certainly not something you like to see happen to your club, if you have the opportunity and you have the chances to give to other players to see what they are capable of during those moments, it can be a really good thing for the club, and especially just offering more depth, offering less nervousness if another player goes down. Just having those options is always good. Depth isn't a bad thing unless you're Liverpool and you like to sell away your depth and then complain about not having depth after players get injured. I don't know. It seems like it's a similar circle going one year after another. But looking toward the weekend and Liverpool, Glenn, we are headed down to the GTEC, and I'm going to be honest. I'm going to give you the floor, but I am worried, especially a team that plays so well from set pieces against a team that is defensively so abysmally poor against set pieces. I can see this being yet another poor result, and things not going well for Liverpool.
Yeah, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic. I mean, I think our strengths are your weaknesses, as you said, right? Crosses, long balls, overlapping fullbacks. So you've considered a stack of goals from set pieces and a stack of goals against wingers, right? Your fullback situation is catastrophic at the minute. It's a shambles with Kirkes and Szoboszlai. I mean, yeah, that's like one of the major issues with Liverpool right now. It's the fullback situation. It's the Salah. It's everything, to be perfectly honest. But those are defensively, at least, right? I mean, we have to play 4-3-3. I think the fan base would be devastated if we rocked up with a 5-3-2 because, again, Atara and Sharda, Hendo pinging balls over the top, Coyote, whoever's playing left back, these overlapping runs, that's a headache for your fullbacks. And you just haven't figured it out yet. You look further from figuring it out today than you do a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, we're going to pep you with long throws. We're going to be strong in the box. We've got to target your fullback situation. Do you have the quality to hurt us? Absolutely. Could you score 2 or 3 goals? Absolutely. As soon as something clicks, Ekitike, maybe start Ekitike, right? Maybe Gakpo scores 3 goals, which he should have done at the weekend instead of his sole goal, right? Maybe Salah, finally. The player's there. No one's ever doubting Mohamed Salah's quality. We're just saying his form is really poor. If any one of your $400 million front line decides to show up, great, you've got a great chance at hurting us. But if you're looking at form, Brentford's erratic, and you've just fallen away the last few games. Yeah, again, West Ham is really tough because it's really challenging to really judge any big macro things from that. But we could take away that, again, our strengths are going to be your weaknesses. And I'm excited. I think the West Ham result means that the GTEC's going to be really up for this. I think Slot's on the back foot. I think your squad's on the back foot. If we win the game, if we beat you guys, we're going to be 2 points behind you. 2 points behind you with incomparable wealth between the teams and squads. Incomparable. That's pretty crazy. And that is not to make you or any Liverpool fans feel bad. It's just really, significant that there could be such a small gap between the two teams with one game. Because we haven't been good this season. We've been hot and cold. We've played some teams like Manchester United all the way out of London. We've obviously beaten West Ham in a nice derby, but we've also put in some horrible performances. Fulham, Notts Forest, they've been dreadful. So we're erratic. You guys are all over the place. I think it's going to be a cracking game. I'd like to think it's going to be a high-scoring game. If I was looking at the weekend fixtures, I think we picked last week. We said Bournemouth Villa was the one to watch, and we knocked that out of the park because that was the game of the weekend by a million miles. I think Liverpool-Brentford is really one to tune in for because I just think we're up for it. You guys have got to beat us. You've got to turn your season around. You've got to go win. Isak has to step up. Somebody has to step up because you're a better team than us by a million miles. But that's the beautiful thing about the Premier League. Not only can anyone beat anyone, as soon as you get a few wins, as Shay can attest to, as soon as you turn a corner of form, and maybe you guys can do that against us. Maybe you can reroute your season on Sunday or Saturday. But I think it's all set up, Saturday night for a really tasty game. I would say high scoring. My guess would be 2-2. That would be my guess. But I think both teams are going to get on the score sheet.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the interesting thing too, when you're talking about the defense being in shambles and especially the fullbacks, you mentioned Kirkhez and you mentioned Soboslai, a midfielder who is filling in at right back ahead of 2 healthy right backs in Bradley and Frimpong. So at some point, you have to look at that and go, where do these 2 fit and why are we not using them in their more natural positions? Why do we have to rely on someone like Sobo? And do we have to talk about the guy who we don't want to name in Trent and missing the outlet that came from that position? Because you have a guy like Bradley who he is rapid, but he's a little reckless. I think he's a little overrated by Liverpool fans. He makes one great sliding tackle on Kylian Mbappe. He's suddenly the best right back in the world kind of thing. I know every fan base likes to have their overreactions, but I think sometimes on our end it gets to be a little crazy. And yeah, unfortunately, if he's not getting to play 90 ahead of your best, at least from last year, your best all-around midfielder who has to step in and play in that position, it's not really a great recipe for success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just to add, I feel like Bradley was this kind of coping mechanism for Trent's departure. I think it made sense for a fan base to hype up a guy. And I think Bradley's quality, don't get me wrong. But I think it made emotional and almost spiritual sense for you guys to hype up someone as this emerging top quality player because it solves the Trent problem. How convenient is that? We have this quality player in the wings. He's younger. He cares about the club. He's not going to knife us in the back. Great. This is the guy. We don't have to worry about Trent. But Trent, you're seeing on 2 ends, right? You're seeing the absence and the shambles at right back. You're seeing the decline of Salah's output. You're seeing, for all the shit he got for being poor at the back, it looks like he was better defensively than we thought he was compared to who's replaced him. But not only are you lacking him in defense, you're lacking his creative output for Salah specifically. And obviously, as you said, you're dragging Szoboszlai, who's one of your best box-to-box midfielders, into a slot he shouldn't be playing. It has to be Bradley. And then, with the other guy, it's just weird. He's been signed as like a right-sided player. Is he going to play? Was it with Salah going to AFCON? You're going to think he's going to be the right winger? Where is his position? Like, he shouldn't be on the bench. So, yeah, I think for you guys, recruitment, you've over-recruited, and the players who have come in have flattered to deceive so far. It's just not something that any of us really foresaw, because we all thought the slot machine would really build from a neutral fan. And I like Liverpool. They're probably my favorite big club. And it's just been really surprising to see all these pieces overcomplicate things, right? Suddenly he's got headaches. How do you have headaches at right back when, as you said, you've got two players in the wings who should play there? So if we can exploit some of that confusion and that fan frustration, we'll see. I think a high-scoring draw. And I'd be delighted with that result, to be honest.
I think we'd both be delighted at this point. I mean, you offer me a draw over a loss, I'll take it. Shay, let's go into some Tonali's picks here as we're going to round out the show. We'll go around, and let's bring this back up on the screen. Where is your upset for this weekend? Where are you looking?
Let's see, a little upset. I'm going to go Palace. I think Palace is going to beat Arsenal. It'll take them down. We haven't really talked about them as much. I think their new manager has done a fantastic job with them losing one of their key players. And then, Mateta should have had probably 6 goals this weekend, truly. I saw that one that he missed. That was just a horrible miss, which I know he knew it. But he is on fire. I think Arsenal, they get that cockiness with them. You see the center back saying, like, oh, we're better than everybody, yet they've not won anything. And then, Spurs fans chirping at them. So it's always funny just watching them always argue on Twitter. But I think that's going to be our upset. Maybe 2-1, or, Mateta scores another hat-trick and just keeps his form going on.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a player be so upset after a game after scoring a hat-trick, more upset than I saw Jean-Philippe Mateta after he missed that sitter.
Oh, yeah. He wanted the 4th, but Can you blame him? It was an all-time miss, so
it was, but he did at least rescue point for Palace against Bournemouth. Ayo, let's go to you. Where do you see the biggest upset, or where are you looking this weekend as far as interesting matchups? Anything else that you want to touch on?
Burnley Wolves. I think Wolves are terrible. Every time I see them or watch them or see the extended highlights, they're terrible. And I think they're going down unless something miraculous happens. So I think Burnley will beat Wolves.
Jamie?
I've been looking at these fixtures while you guys are talking. I think Newcastle-Fulham is going to be a fantastic game. Both are coming off losses. I think Fulham are coming off 2 or 3 losses on the bounce. I think that's going to be pretty significant. It's not really a Tonali's pick. My eyes are drawn to Forest-Bournemouth. Bournemouth are high-flying in 3rd place right now. And Forest have just appointed Deitch. Do we think there's going to be a bounce there coming out of Postecoglou? I think there might be. Or maybe it's just the fairy dust running out for Bournemouth. But I could see a result that might surprise a few folks there.
Yeah, and Bournemouth has been fantastic. Semenyo especially has been fantastic. I think outside of your top 4, top 6, top 6, I think Iriola is probably the best manager in the Prem. Maybe Oliver Glasner has a shot there. We'll give Keith Andrews 6 more months. Maybe he'll join the list. I don't know. We'll see. But Glenn, where's your upset happening this weekend?
I think one we've overlooked. I love all these picks. I think it's a good weekend for an upset, isn't it? Sometimes we look at the games and they're too even, but I think there's a great weekend. If you suspend the Brentford-Liverpool one, because I think we can get a decent result against you guys. I think Everton at home to Tottenham. That's a really tasty one for an upset, I think. Everton look really, really solid under Moyes. They have so many good players. Jack Grealish is going to come back.
Blasphemy on a Liverpool podcast.
Well, I mean, they're a team transformed, aren't they? I mean, Jack Grealish, Ndiaye is one of the ballers of the Premier League. He is one of the unsung ballers in the entire league. He is pure class. Pure class. You saw what he did against Man City, right? Beating 4 players from his own box. It's ridiculous. Spurs are on a bit of a mini slump. They started well. They soared. They've kind of hit this inconsistency. They've had a few disappointing results on and off. I think Everton, new stadium, they'll be really up for that. And I think Grealish coming in, quality around him, I can really see them getting a couple of goals and beating Spurs.
Yeah, I think Jack not playing against City definitely was a big miss for him. Obviously, can't play against your parent club, but
Definitely.
he has turned them around. He looks like the Jack that we had, the Villa one, but I'm glad he's finally had his resurgence. Maybe he'll come back home. I doubt it.
He had his fun for a few years, and now he's going back to playing football again, which is great to see. So I guess just interestingly, too, since we touched upon it a little bit, Io mentioning how terrible Wolves are, West Ham being in shambles, Forest looking like a shell of themselves from last year. I know the conversation before the year was very much 3 up, 3 down in a lot of the spheres of this kind of chat. Shay, and we'll go around and we'll just do a little quick thing that's here to end it. As far as the relegation battle, how do you see that playing out? Do you think West Ham and Wolves find their way out of the bottom 3, or do you think they're destined to go down?
I think Wolves are finally destined. They just, like Kyle said, they have not played well the last couple of years and just kind of skated by. West Ham, I mean, I didn't realize they were that bad. I thought they had some good quality. Like they do. They have 2 or 3 players that could do it, but I haven't really watched much to see. But off the forum, it's not looking good for them. Forest, like I said, Sean Dyche, I mean, it's been proven the man doesn't play attractive soccer at all. It is the very or anti against playing offense. So if somehow he pulls that out for Forest, it'll be straight draws or 1-0 park the bus that he's done at every club before them. But like I said, 3 up, 3 down. I don't know the last time in the league where the 3 promoted teams didn't get relegated, and you have at least 2 teams that have been in the Premier League a little bit longer for us. I know they just came up more recently, but when's the last time that we saw 3 teams that have been there a long time go down? It would be interesting because do they come back? West Ham obviously has a lot of money to possibly do it. Forest, if they go down, they may not come back up for a while just because, just like us, getting in trouble overspending. If Forest gets relegated, they may not come back, and it may be even worse to where they get relegated again to League One just for the FA to kind of do it out of spite of the owner just because he's so rambunctious, and we see what he has done. I mean, the man's fired 2 managers within less than a month, so he's about to be 3 because I think he's going to realize how abysmal Sean Dyche soccer really is, and we have already seen he likes to do things his way. So it'll be
if there's anything Dyche can do, it's keep a team up sometimes.
He will keep them up, but the owner fired Nuno, who was doing nothing wrong, and they drew 1 game and he about lost his shit. So I don't know how he's going to handle the Ginger Mourinho era.
Definitely, I think personality has a lot to do with it. I think Nuno is a lot more fiery than Dyche is. Dyche is very much like, if he needs to be a yes man, he'll be a yes man. Yeah. Whereas Nuno is kind of more of his own man. So I can see how Dyche can kind of fall in line for ownership a little bit better. To answer your question, the last time we saw all 3 promoted teams stay up was 3 years ago. Fulham, Bournemouth, and Forest all stayed up. But before that, it wasn't until 2017-2018 when Brighton, Huddersfield Town, and Newcastle were promoted and stayed up. So, Io, since you kind of started this a bit with Wolves, who do you see at this point in the season? Who would be your pick for the 3 to drop down?
I think Wolves for sure. I think Burnley are terrible too. I mean, they find a way to win a couple of games here and there, but over the length of season, their talent will surely. So I think Burnley will join them, and I think I'm going to lean on. I think West Ham will go down. I really do. I think their recruitment has been terrible. I think relegation battles is typically about quality. Like if you have base average quality Premier League players, West Ham made some terrible signings this season, and it's gone under the radar. And they overpaid for people like Kilman and Fulkrug, and they made some terrible signings. And I think they've done that and skated by with people like Kudus and Bowen carrying them for the last couple of seasons. I think hiring Nuno is not going to help much. I think West Ham are going to go down.
Terrible signings for a manager who is no longer there as well to boot. Jamie, do you find any of those 3 teams saving themselves from the bottom 3 at the end of the season?
I think Forest will save themselves. I could see Burnley or Leeds dropping down, and I think West Ham need to do something like completely different to change gears. And I think Wolves are gone.
And to round us out, Glenn, who are your three at this point in the season? Who do you have the least faith in?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think Forest are going to go down. They've got way too much quality across the squad. I don't think there's a single chance they go down, personally, regardless of Dyke Ball. I think Wolves have got enough Premier League experience and enough in the tank. I think they have the best manager who's in the kind of, well, it's tough to judge Nuno. I think they have a manager who's proven he can do a decent job at their club. It's crazy they are not a million miles away from being cut adrift. 8 games into it, I wouldn't like to see a 5-point gap after 8 games. That's a lot for a team that can't score goals. You look at their squad and it's not looking brilliant. It's looking a little threadbare, especially in defense. But if you've got a player like Strand Larsen, there's a reason Newcastle were chasing him on deadline day. Like, he is a good player and he's just been injured. And he's a kind of 15 goals a season striker who can really work wonders around Christmas when he picks up some form. So I think Wolves can fight their way out of it. They've got the nous. Yes, they've cut it close in previous years. I totally appreciate that. I don't like that points difference, but I think they've got enough in the tank to push their way up. Based on what I suffered through yesterday, I think West Ham are in dire straits. I really, really do. And as I said, I really want to emphasize that the changes in approach Nuno brought in was extremely confusing and extremely ineffective. It was like the polar opposite of a new manager bounce. It was just awful. I think they're in real trouble. Totally right about recruitment. It's a disaster. I think Burnley are going to drift down because they're going to struggle to score goals. And I think Leeds haven't shown me enough. I haven't seen much of them this season, but I'm not convinced that Leeds have a squad that over however many games, 38 games, whatever it is, has enough in the tank to stay up. So at the minute, I'd say West Ham, Burnley, and Leeds. I think Forest have got quality all over the squad. They dismantled us in the first game of the season and played one of the best 45 minutes of football I've seen against us in the Premier League. That's a team that's going to be fine. And Wolves are in trouble. Losing against Sunderland doesn't help. Really doesn't help. But A, I think Wolves will be okay. And B, when you pulled up the table, how insane is it that Sunderland wasn't in our view? How crazy is that? You pulled up the bottom 12, essentially, whatever it was, bottom 11, and we couldn't see Sunderland. I don't think any football pundit, anyone who follows the Premier League, unless the most diehard, ardent fan at the Stadium of Light, season ticket holder for 50 years, him aside, her aside, nobody would have said they'd be top 7. That is unbelievable. And I think Xhaka, as you said, Jamie, they've recruited well. Compare their recruitment to West Ham's. I mean, my God. We still can't see it. It's crazy. It just blows my mind. It won't last, and they'll end up in this bottom half of the table. Yeah. But like, their fans are in dreamland, and credit to them that they can't be a name in this discussion right now because they've played too well. So they're the success story of the season by a million miles.
I mean, they're 7th and Newcastle are 14th. Like,
that's crazy.
Yeah, this is the renaissance of the experienced holding midfielders of Henderson and Xhaka. And I'll throw Casemiro in there, even though he shouldn't be in there at all, but he's got to be in there based off last weekend alone. So thank you, gentlemen, for hopping on tonight. Thanks everyone who decided to spend a little bit of their time with us. We'll be back next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. And then we hope you guys have a wonderful week. Until then, stay great.